This is Ray Mofield, and we're visiting again with our oral history microphone, and we're visiting this time the home of Willie Peck. Mr. Peck lives on Benton RFD 7, and that's not too far from where the road, US 68, slices off to the right, and Kentucky 95 goes to Calvert City. And it's near Zion's Cause Baptist Church as well. Mr. Peck, it's a real pleasure to be with you today.
Well, sir, I'm glad to be with you.
I'm wondering if you're old enough to be on this program. Now, we try to hold it to 65.
65.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we've, not that we have anything against people younger than that, but we just think they don't remember back in the real old days like we'd like to have. Are you as much as 65 years old?
Oh, yeah. I'll be 17th or this coming September, I'll be 94.
94?
94.
I believe you're eligible.
Well, I guess I am.
You're a hale and hearty looking fella.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Have you been growing a garden every year?
Yes, sir. I do. A little small garden. Not very much, but I'll try to raise
enough to feed 3 or 4 families.
I'll try to raise a few things, keep me employed.
What do you like? Tomatoes?
I like tomatoes, and well, I just like all kinds of vegetables. And I love to
corn, fresh corn, butter beans.
That's right.
Boy, that's good eating. You ever grow any okra?
Oh yes, I grow a little okra every year.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you have any spare, don't throw it away.
Okay. I'll think of that.
Okay. Where were you born, Mr. Peck? Were you born in Marshall County?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was born...
Right about this neighborhood?
Yes, sir. I was born on the Lone Valley and Gilbertsville Road.
I know where that is.
You do?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been down
that road. I was born and raised right there. And
now, there are an awful lot of Pecks in the county, but you're not kin to all of them.
Well, the best I can find out, I am.
A distant kin
that's
to some
right.
of them.
Some way.
Well, now, what about these Pecks in Paducah that ran I believe they ran a produce house, a truck line, a moving and storage, some of them did, and there's a couple of Peck boys that are architects and draw plans for buildings and so on.
Well, I don't know if I know them boys or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear from them once in a while, but I hardly ever see any of them, but we're all related.
When I worked in Paducah, which I did for 14 years in radio, there was a Peck that I'd see at the fire station.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Was it Finley Peck?
Yeah. Finley. There was 4 or 5 of them boys worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Off and on, you know.
Yes, sir.
Finley worked there, and let me see if I can...
Well, we needn't waste a whole lot of time on that. Let's get back to your father. Who was your father?
John Peck.
And he married whom?
How's that?
Who did he marry?
He married a Corsi.
So your mother was a Corsi?
Rosetti Corsi, yes, sir.
Now, if you could remember either of your grandparents, that'd be going a long way back. Do you remember any of them?
Well, I don't believe I do.
Uh-huh. Well, all right, let's go right on. Now, in being born where you were, where did you go to grade school?
I just went to a little county school.
What was the name of it?
Lone Valley.
Lone Valley?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know that place? You know it?
Well, I don't remember the school now. There's a church there now.
Yeah.
Lone Valley.
Yeah. Well, this school was right down the foot of that hill there.
I see.
Yes.
Oh, it is.
And that's the only place I ever went to school, was Lone Valley.
From the very early days, churches and schools were frequently together.
That's right.
I remember studying in an old history about one of the first schools in Marshall County, probably the first, was Liberty.
Yeah.
And it is near Wadesboro.
Yeah.
There was a Liberty Church of Christ and a Liberty School.
Yeah. Well, I've heard of that place.
And of course, there's my mother-in-law is always talking about going to Church Grove School and Church Grove Methodist Church.
That's
so
right.
They were right together.
Oh yeah,
I guess.
That's it. I guess they are.
But those old schools are gone. Do you happen to remember any teacher you had sometime?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I went to Miss Della Rudolph and Homer Ford.
Now there's a name that I recognize right off, Homer Ford.
Homer Ford.
Yeah.
Well, I went to school. I didn't get to go to Homer very long. Something happened. I don't remember now just what. But, I guess I went to Homer maybe 3 or 4 weeks is all that I got to go.
Now he lived till earlier this year.
How's that?
Mr. Ford has lived till not long ago.
Yeah, he hasn't been dead, but, I guess 3 or 4 months, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So you went to Lone Valley. Now I don't know that I've interviewed anyone who went there before, but I suppose it was typical of all those one-room grade schools.
Tell you the truth about it, there's not very many of them that's left. That is, it's living that went to Lone Valley School.
Yes, sir.
They're just about all gone.
Well, of course, that's a sad thought, but that's the fate of mankind, I guess, is to get old and pass on.
Pass on.
Well, do you remember any favorite games you had as a boy?
Except playing ball.
We're still playing ball.
Oh, yeah, we're still playing.
Yeah.
We're getting stronger all the time.
Well, I don't know. I watched the Cardinals Sunday, and I'm not sure that we're as strong as Lone Valley used to be.
You say what?
Did you see that game?
No, I didn't.
They couldn't have beat their way out of a paper bag.
Oh, I guess.
I don't understand how the near world champions could drop that much in 1 year.
Well, I don't either. Oh, I don't.
Well, some of the people that you used to play with, I've heard a rumor that you knew Harry Hurley. Could you tell us anything?
Sure. Yeah, I knew Harry Hurley well. Me and Harry played together when we was boys growing up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been good friends.
Yeah.
And I reckon we're pretty close in age. I've just forgot how close we are, but there's not too much difference in our age.
He used to tell me about raising some cattle, and did you ever help him in cattle or anything?
Nothing more than I've sold him some cattle.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd come and he worked for Uncle George DeHaven, you know. And Harry was hoping for I don't know, 8, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd get all over the country and buy cattle, and then they'd come back and rob them down the road, you know, to where they wanted them to go.
Yeah. Now you truck everything everywhere. You don't do much cattle driving anymore.
No.
There's a lot of American history centers around cattle driving. The history of the West, the old Chisholm Trail, and
that's right.
all those cattle drives created towns like Abilene and so forth. Well, on a smaller scale than we had that in Marshall County. There wasn't a stock law then, was there?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, okay, was your dad a farmer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, he was a farmer. That's about all he ever done was farm.
What did you grow?
Tobacco, corn, and hay of all kinds that we could. And I don't know, that's not the biggest thing we ever raised when I was growing up.
Well, did you ever grow cotton?
Well, my mother she grew her own cotton patch every year. She had a loom, and she made the most of our clothing, and she would card this cotton, you know, take it on through the loom and make this thing out of it and that thing, you know. She really enjoyed her loom and raising this cotton, you know. She's taken us kids to that cotton patch a million times. We'd pick the cotton, you know. And that's sort of what we had way back then.
Now that's beginning at the basics. You raise the cotton.
Yes, sir.
Then you pick it.
Yes, sir.
You had to get the seed out of it.
We set up every night and pick the seed out of that cotton, you know, pile it up in a pile over here.
And then she had to take a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
And turn it into...
The next thing she had to do was she had cards that she carded that out in batch, you know, and she'd turn that thing over there and roll that out in a roll. Oh, it'd be as big as your finger, you know.
Yeah.
Well, then she had a spinning wheel that she used to spin right into thread, that cotton.
Yes, sir.
So she just, she really enjoyed that.
Now you talk about taking a long time and that was tedious work.
Oh, I reckon it was. Yes, sir.
I guess the women then, some of them liked it.
Oh, yeah, sure, they enjoyed it. I can remember when I was a little tot, you know, she had her loom and a spinning wheel, everything in a room, you know. And I can remember when I was a little fella crawling around, you know, I'd crawl in there, and she had two, I don't know what you call them, but anyway,
a treadle?
Treadle.
Yeah.
And she'd bump my head.
Then let it come down.
Then there's a racket started. Oh, I tell you, we had a time back then.
You got your noggin in the wrong place.
Yes, sir, I better stay down. I learned it though.
Yeah.
She didn't pay me much mind. If I got in the way, she'd push down on that pedal.
Now, after that, you could, they took some of those bats and made quilt paddings.
Yeah, quilts, she made all of her quilt.
And then you had to sew together 10,000 pieces of little cloth to make the top of the quilt.
Yes, sir.
And then the women would get together and they'd have a quilting.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Did you ever have hooks in the ceiling where they'd put up those quilting frames?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And the ladies would come in?
I had a set of my mother's quilting frames. After they all passed away, you know, I kept some of them old things just for a keepsake, and I've got some of them things down at the barn now.
Don't throw them away.
No, I don't aim to.
Oh, my.
Also, I've got a lot of
that brings back a lot of memories, doesn't it?
Oh, my goodness. I go down there every once in a while and I look at all these things, you know, that my mother used, and it just don't look believable, does it? You know?
Now, we've been fortunate, I guess, in America in one way. We've prospered and we've had a lot of labor-saving devices.
That's right.
But now, are we any happier than your mother was?
I don't believe we was happy.
No?
Honest, I don't.
We get dissatisfied in a hurry, don't we?
That's right. Seemed like back in them days everybody was satisfied, you know. you didn't hear them complain about nothing hardly. And we didn't have no money, but we had plenty to eat. That's one thing for sure.
Well, that's the way I grew up. We didn't, as you say, we didn't have any money, but we ate. Actually, we ate well.
Oh, yes, we did.
We ate what I go to Shoney's now and give them $6 or $7 to feed me the way my mother fed me.
Why, yeah, that's right. I can't keep from thinking about them big old hams my father and mother used to put up, you know, and smoke them out. And you take a slice of that ham now, the hams we have today don't taste like ham to what they did.
No.
And that red gravy, boy.
You're going to make me hungry, Peck.
I wish a lot of times that I could get a hold of all them good old country hams.
Yeah. Well, I do too, and the ones my father made, it seems to me, were the best. Probably part of that is just rose-colored glasses that I'm wearing. I'm thinking about how I love Father and Mother.
That's right.
But I do the next best thing. I go to Colonel Lee's and get a ham, and that's about as close as you can come in 1986.
They're not as good though as the ones we used to have, are they?
Well, I'll agree with you on that. There's something about them,
That's
some
right.
way.
Yes, sir. And I don't know, times have changed.
As I said, it may be just my memories that interfere there.
Yeah.
Would you tell us about what a typical hog killing day was like?
Well, yes. I remember it mighty well. I spent lots of days helping kill hogs, you know, and all of us neighbors would get together and we'd call out our day, you know, that we wanted to kill hogs.
And had to be a cold day, of course.
Yes, had to be a cold day. And we'd be 7, 8, or 10 families, maybe all go to the hog killing. And they'd kill these hogs, put these meat up, grind that sausage, the hand, you know, and just had a big time.
You had a lot of fun, although it's hard work.
That's right. But they didn't mind work back then.
No, while the men were killing the hog, and you had we heated a lot of hot water, didn't we? And then we put those old pigs in a barrel and
that's right, roll them around,
scrape the hair off then and cut them up. And meantime, the women were cooking dinner.
That's right. I remember we'd get these big old kettles, you know. We had wash kettles. Fill them full of water, put 3 or 4 of them on 2 poles, you know. We'd start that water heat and put it on in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
And by 8 or 9 o'clock, we'd have them hogs on the pole, you know.
Yeah. In later years, they'd take a tractor and lift them up on the where you gutted them and so forth. Before, it took some strong men to put up those.
I reckon it did.
Because you didn't kill 200-pound hogs then, did you?
No, not very much.
You'd get them up to 3, maybe even 4.
3 and 4, and I've helped kill hogs that weighed 600 pounds.
Now that'd be something to live with.
Yes, it sure would.
Yeah. Well, those are wonderful days. Now, if you'd string that out all winter long, which it seemed we used to do pretty well, each person that came and helped, you'd give a little, we'd give I know the liver was a favorite to give away.
That's right.
And some ribs and backbone.
That's right. Yeah, there'd be 1 or 2. It'd be fixing that meat up for every fellow, you know, it'd help kill hogs.
So everybody had fresh meat.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on, you'd get paid back.
That's right, sure. Yes, sir.
Those are wonderful times. Now, let me ask you about your children. And I haven't done that.
Well,
How many children did you have, Mr. Peck?
you mean of my own family?
Yes, sir.
Just one daughter.
You had the one daughter.
One daughter,
Uh-huh.
yes, sir.
And she married George Barker?
George Barker, that's correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, now her name is Reba.
Really? Yes, sir.
And they have some children, so you must be a grandfather.
Yeah. Yes, they've got some children.
And I believe maybe even a grandchild.
Yeah, we've got one great grandchild.
So you're a great granddad.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that sounds right good, doesn't it? A
Yes.
great granddad.
Great granddaddy, sure does.
Yeah. Well, fine. Tell us about some of the rest of your life after you were married. Did you farm all your life, or did you ever
No.
go to a public
I
job?
had several different jobs. I'll tell you what, first of all, was a blacksmith at Kansas City.
A blacksmith.
A blacksmith. I taken it up at 14 years old. Me and my oldest brother bought a little old set of blacksmith tools, you know. We give $15 for them. And we had a little house on the place. It was vacant. We turned it into a workshop, you know. Neither one of us didn't know a thing about it, more than we'd sell for our shoe horses, you know, heat on, boiled it. We put that in there, and over in the day, that's the only chance we'd get to get up there and try to learn something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one of these old-timer bellows. I guess you saw them.
Now that's the one you had to kind of squeeze together.
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
it?
right. And that forced the air back into your forehead.
Yeah.
We'd have the biggest time up I ever was. Well, one time he said my brother was older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, let's try turning some horseshoes. Well, I told him, all right. We got them things hot. You never saw such hammering in your life. But we finally got them sort of shaped up.
Yeah.
And that's how come me to be a blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest brother, he quit it. He got disheartened and quit. And I'd learned this and learned that. Everything I knew, I learned it myself.
You look a little thin to be a blacksmith. Were you ever a great, big, husky fellow?
No, sir. I was always small.
But you could swing that hammer.
Oh, well, I got so that I reckon I must have been pretty good. I stayed at Calvert 2 years after. Well, I was still learning down there. And I've done the blacksmith work for the biggest part of the farmers over on the river, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quit the blacksmithing. I mean, I went into it, sort of working on automobiles. And
Well, the early garages, early people that worked on cars were blacksmiths.
Oh, yeah. I worked for a drafting motor company 2 years. Then
Now they had the Ford dealership.
yeah, they had the Ford dealership. And then I swapped my place at Calvert to this place here at Palma, where Mr. Willard Howard run, you know. Stayed up there 14 years. And then I just kind of quit the mechanical business and the blacksmith business too. But I don't know, sometime, and selling the tools, I wish to kept them. If I had them now, I could do a lot of things.
I don't know what there was. There was a fascination to me about a blacksmith shop. I used to go to Hardin and stand around and watch the Pace brothers and Solon Griffith and a man named MacDonald
Yeah.
had shops there. I'd have given $100 million if I'd have had it, if I could have just turned. By the time I remember, they had a blower that you turned to crank.
Yeah, that's what we call a forge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've owned 3 or 4 of them things.
Yeah.
Well,
Did any
did
of
you
the
ever-
boys ever want to turn that thing for you?
How's that?
Did any boys ever want to turn
everyone
that?
come in wanted to turn that thing. Well, I had the awful things that happened one day, just like you was talking now. There's a boy lived over here on the other side of Palmer, and he always wanted to turn the forge for me. He'd come over there and stay with me, you know, and he'd want to turn the forge. And of course, I didn't care for him to turn it. I liked for him to turn it. And you know that boy just dropped over dead one day, turning that forge, just fell out. And I forgot now what they claimed is kind of heart trouble or something.
Well, he must
But
have.
he was just standing there, turning that forge, you know, like that.
And of course, it wasn't hard to turn.
No, it's easy to turn. But we picked him up as 4 or 5 out at the shop and finally got him over it. But I forgot what the doctor said it was. Something like heart trouble, you know.
Well, that was a real tragedy, and I know you
yeah,
hated for it
yes,
to happen.
I hated it bad.
Well, I'd never heard of anything like that, but of course, people do die
Oh, yes.
sometimes when they're doing nothing. And matter of fact, they die in their sleep, don't
That's
they?
right.
So,
Yes, sir, they sure do.
well, all right, you told me that you engaged in, 3 or 4 different occupations now.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, you farmed, you ran a blacksmith shop,
Yes, sir.
and you were an automobile mechanic.
Yeah.
Were there any others?
Well, not in particular.
Yeah. Well, that's 3 careers in a lifetime.
Why, yes.
That's real good. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time left, and I'm wondering if you remember any funny stories or any embarrassing situations you ever got in that you could tell us about, or just anything you'd like to say before we have to close.
Well, I want to tell you about me and my oldest brother. It's back in 1913.
Mm-hmm.
We got our crop planted, and we plowed it and had everything up in pretty good shape. Now, it was in 13 or 14, one I don't remember just which it was. And you know, our crop just burned up entirely. Everything in this country just didn't have any crop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my oldest brother, he says, he called me Bill all the time. He says, Bill, let's go over to Gilbertsville in the morning and see if we can get on the railroad. He says, we ain't going to make nothing. I said, no, that is a settled fact. We're not going to make nothing. Well, the next morning, we hitched a mule to a buggy, and we went over to Gilbertsville, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever hear of Ray Marshall?
I've heard of it.
He wrote a story over there.
Yes.
Well, we was acquainted with Mr. Marshall, and my oldest brother says, we'll see if Uncle Ray Marshall, he called him Uncle Ray, let us put this mule in his barn.
Mm-hmm.
So he went over and talked to him. He says, why, yes, he says, just put it anywhere out there you want to. And we went on then and saw the section foreman. And he says, yes, boys, says, I need some extra hands. But now he says, I'll tell you what you're going to have to do. He says, I've just got one hand car, and my old hands will have to use it. And you boys, I think he said he's going to hire 10 that morning. We'll have to walk this river bridge and walk the Gold Rivers to work. We're taking up a track over there. Well, we all got a job we pulled out, you know, across that bridge. And it's all like I was. They never was on a bridge like that river bridge. Well, we all broke that bridge for 3 or 4 days, and I told my brother, I says, I can't do this. And it happened as a train come by and caught us on that bridge, you know. And all the thing you had was about a 2-foot space on that pier, and you could hug a post while that train run across there, but boy, that old bridge, it just gives...
Scared you to death.
Scared you to death. I stayed 3 days and quit.
Well, thank you. I wish we had more time to hear more of those wonderful stories. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Will Peck, our Benton RFD 7. This is Ray Mofield. We return you now to our studio.